Hey everyone! Congratulations, you did it. You found another episode of Wild Tales. Or maybe it's your first. If it is, welcome aboard. You're listening to Wild Tales. I'm your host, Mike Bona. And a special thanks to the band If Mars Had Waves for my intro music. And speaking of If Mars Had Waves, I have a special guest today. It is the bassist from the band, who just also happens to be my brother. This guest is a get, as they say in the business. How did I get him? I just called him and said, hey, what are you doing? You want to do a podcast? And he said, sure, why not? So, yeah, it's just fun to tell stories. We both have love and affinity for animals and a history working with them. It's my brother, Bob. It's his name, Bob. He goes by the name Bobcat, except for today's episode, he changed it to Brocat, which is fitting. But he has a large collection of animals at home. He used to have a larger collection of animals that he would use to educate children, and now he just has kind of a personal collection that's growing larger and larger, thanks to his girlfriend, Christine, who is also on the podcast, and she is volunteering currently at a animal facility called Wine Country Zoo up in Sonoma County. And they both have some fun and exciting stories to tell. We just kind of bounced around from story to story. It was fun. We didn't really stick to a certain theme throughout the whole podcast. Kind of just told stories. It was kind of fun. It's kind of like a chat around the campfire with family, talking about the old times. So hopefully you guys enjoy. Just sit back, listen in. Hopefully you learn something. We cover a lot of animals, talk about a lot of different species, and I'm just going to get into it. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to my brother Bob and his lovely girlfriend, Christine.
We just took on a new cute little common snapping turtle at the zoo. So
I had for a long time near the back area where I worked at the zoo, there was this pond that was always full. Like, it didn't drain well, so they just kept it full and put like fish in there to eat the mosquitoes. Someone somewhere along the line dumped off a snapping turtle in there.
Aww.
That I happened to just notice. It was thriving. We just left it there for the longest time, and I'd check every day. It's murky waters unless he was out. I couldn't see him. Every once in a while he was out. I named him Waldo because every day I'd go look, like, where's Waldo? Oh, there he is. But they finally decided after about a year or two to drain the pond and ship him to a rescue.
Oh, nice.
But I miss him. He was cool.
I wonder if
I was gonna say maybe he came to us.
Who knows?
Yeah, we have some big ones too, and so that's one of the things
they get monster
do, is take the little one and be like, yeah, look, it's super cute, but then this is what you're gonna end up with.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you accidentally get in his mouth's way, that's nasty.
Yeah.
So they got some chompers.
That's
why you don't have one yet.
There's other things I'd rather get before that. That's down the list a little ways.
I can't wait. So, hey, Bobcat. I see you put down your name as Brocat.
I did tonight, yes.
Why is that?
Because I'm your bro.
That's right.
It made sense.
You're my older little brother.
And you are my bigger baby brother.
Older because you're 30 years older, and little because you're 3 feet smaller. Did I get those numbers right?
You got a little exaggerated on both accounts. So
just a little.
Yeah, just a little.
And you join us today with your lovely girlfriend, Christine.
Yeah, and there's a dog behind me yanking on my arm.
A dog who's craving attention.
Yeah.
Look, it's not a Wild Tales podcast unless at some point someone has a dog barking in the background.
Yeah.
That's usually how it works. Everyone has a dog. Mine are quietly sleeping right now, so hopefully it stays that way. I'm glad. I thought this would be fun to have you on and just have a little fun family chat, and I got some little whiskey because you bring back dramatic memories from my childhood, so I got a drink while you're in the room.
Well, good. I'm glad you found an antidote to that. I'm going non-alcoholic at the moment.
He's staying sober tonight so he can put up with you and not start a fight.
What fun is that? That does not make for good podcasting.
We never fight.
We don't. I mean, I know there has been.
Whether we drink or not.
Yeah, now I think we're too mature for that.
Yeah, I don't think we ever really got into a fight. that I
No.
can think of. The
Oh,
other
there's
brother, on the other hand,
look. There's still time.
Something to work on. Goals.
So we may not have size in common since we're related, me being 10 feet taller, but we do have something in common. It's our love and affection for animals, being around animals. You're just describing your massive animal collection that you're accumulating with help.
I had a good sized animal collection at one point in time, and
I recall.
as I changed my career, I changed that. And at one point I was down to one snake and a dog. That was it.
That's quite a small animal family
Yeah.
compared to what you usually have.
Yeah. Um,
How many did you have when your collection was the biggest?
I don't know, probably 25, 30 animals.
That's right.
Yeah.
Remember that consisted of what, snakes and lizards, and
Snakes, lizards,
you had one of my rabbits that I
amphibians. I had Turbo. Turbo was part of my zoo, and chinchilla, the small guys. Like I had several different tarantulas. I had scorpions. All the things you see at a reptile show was in there. And, a lot of them came to me for free, like people who had them as pets that realized that they didn't really give them that much attention.
once you start accepting animals that people don't want anymore, word gets out that you're the guy to pass off your unwanted animals to.
Yeah.
I'm learning that.
Yes, tell us about your current volunteer experience that you started. Was it last year you started
It's
working?
been a year. Yep, a year in
Yeah.
February, and I was just looking for a volunteer opportunity, and I wanted to work with animals. And I'd gone and volunteered at a dog rescue place, and decided that wasn't a good fit because I'd bring them all home.
Not like this place.
No, not like this place at all. And a friend of mine had been volunteering here, and I found they were looking for some help, and it worked with my schedule, and I signed up. And my first day, I said exactly that. I said, well, yeah, this is great because these are all exotics, and I can't take any home. And they were like, well, not all of them. And yeah, we've all said that too. And I laughed. I was like, oh, no, no, no. And here we are. It didn't even last a year. Actually, the first one came home before a year. But
That's right. And we're just talking today. You brought home a beautiful crested gecko.
Crested gecko. Yep. He's pretty cool. He's missing his tail, so he's needing a name we're trying to come up with. We've had some good ones. A friend of mine suggested Stubbs, so that's in the
I like it.
Yeah, it's in the front running, so we'll see. That or Norman, we're not sure.
Great, that's exciting.
So yeah, but
can't wait to
it's a
see.
cool experience. It's we do a lot of work with different zoos and fish and wildlife, and rescue. A lot of the animals we take in are animals that have been like illegal pets, illegal trade. I just heard, I think we took in 57 alligators last year that were all illegal pets that we.
One relatively small organization.
Yeah. We're on 5 acres. So
yeah.
And but because we have the permits and all of the, they have the knowledge of what to do, and we work with a lot of different fish and wildlife in a bunch of different counties all over. So it's been fun. It's been really cool. I got to hold an American alligator for the first time. And
how big?
Let's see. I think that was Captain Crunch, and I think
Captain
he's about
Crunch.
3 feet. So he was.
That's a good sized lizard. Yeah.
Yeah, he's cool. He was found, I think it was CHP pulled him a guy over, and Captain Crunch was hanging out on the floorboard of his car. And so yeah, he got, and I think the guy might have had like a warrant too for his arrest, and so they called us. And
not shocking,
right?
I have a photo of me from a few years ago holding one that's from Zoo to You in Paso Robles. It's like 4 or 5 feet. It's a good sized alligator, but this, he goes out to schools and organizations all over the place. He's used to being held, so it's like he didn't even care. It's like, I wasn't worried about him turning on me and chomping me. But for anyone thinking about getting an alligator, don't. One, it's illegal,
Yeah,
and two,
totally
they're
illegal.
They're not good pets, and they do not stop growing.
No. We have one on the property that was one of the cool things about this new property is there's a large pond on it because we do have a 12-foot alligator. Yorn, his name. So he's out in the big pond. But yeah, they're cute when they're little, but again, they get big.
Yeah, they can get big pretty fast too. What are you going to do with a 12-foot alligator?
Yep, not
if you live in an apartment with a warrant.
Yeah.
Keep it in the bathtub. What else?
No. Do you guys have any exciting stories that you remember from the past? I mean, we all have kind of a desire for adventure, going to camping and going out into nature. You have anything you can think of that might make for a good wild tale?
No.
Absolutely. Right. Well, thank you. This has been Wild Tales. Thank you for being on my show, and this is what you get when you ask family.
Right.
I can think of one that we were together for.
Which was that?
Camping in Calaveras a couple years ago.
I was going to say, was that Calaveras Big Trees? Yeah, that was a recent one. I just had a recollection of waking up in the morning and looking out the tent and the bears there.
Yeah, we were camping middle of the night. Was it 2 a.m. in the morning? And we're all in our separate tents.
Out it was at your guys' tent first.
Yeah, and my wife's like waking me up, like, Mike, get up. And I'm like, what? And like, why are you waking me up? She goes, I think there's a bear. And of course, my eyes just pop right up. Like, what? And we hear my wife's sister yelling, "Bad bear!" And the reason she was yelling "bad bear" because we learned several years ago when we were in Yosemite talking to the rangers, because we're at a site in Yosemite years ago where we had the rangers. We heard them chasing the bear through the campsite in the middle of the night, and they were shooting them with bean bags to kind of just it's not fatal, but kind of be like, hey, we want to respect you guys, but you guys stay out of this area. But they do yell "bad bear" as kind of conditioning them for when they hear that kind of that command that, oh, they might have a beanbag being shot towards them. So we just kind of taken that whenever we see a bear, in our area, we just yell "bad bear."
That's a good idea, though.
Yeah, it's good to know.
Yeah.
Not that all rangers treat their bears, in the same manner, but you never know. But yeah, he was going after her Yeti bear-proof cooler.
Wasn't it like brand new too? She spotted.
It was brand new, and he did some damage to it, but he did not get
Didn't get in there. Took that cooler to the test.
Hey, we were curious. I'm like, is it really bear-proof? I don't know. If he had more time, maybe, but yeah, he ran right through our campsite.
The table, right? It was like kind of under your little camping something, and pulled it out and drug it around the corner.
Yeah, you can see the drag marks. Mm-hmm. He tried to get it out of there.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, that was fun. That was a fun one. Mill and I think Chrissy tried to run towards her sister's rescue. I pulled her back. I'm like, don't go running towards a bear in the middle of the night. You can't even see what's going on.
Well, with a black bear, you're running towards it isn't such a terrible thing. If you're around grizzly bears, running from them would be terrible. Don't run from a grizzly bear.
I wouldn't recommend running towards any bear, but especially a grizzly bear or running. Well, yeah, be careful running away too. Just make yourself big. I don't know if you can do that, Bob, but make yourself look big, make a lot of noise, back up to safety.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And also secure all your food when you're camping.
Yeah.
I bring it right into my tent with me.
keep you warm at night.
Right.
So Matt was there too, our other brother. He slept through the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Was he camping out that night? Was he there
that night? He was there that night. We told him all what happened right in the morning. All the yelling, all the bear ran right by his tent. And we're he's like, I thought I heard someone yelling, but I went right back to sleep.
That's awesome.
You have any other I can talk. Maybe drinking while I'm doing a podcast is not a good idea.
Did you need to drink to be around me? Is that it? Is this the only thing?
No, I don't need an excuse. I just like to have an excuse. It's just I enjoy a good glass of whiskey at the end of the night.
Nice. Yeah.
So what other exciting tales come to mind?
Well, there was one that I was thinking of. It wasn't camping. It was at my house. Um, and my kids and I had dinner and played a game, and it was a summer night. The window was open. It was time for Jenny, my daughter, to go to bed, and she was getting ready for bed. And Julius and I, my son, were picking up the game, and we heard a ruckus just outside the window. And looking out the window, I wasn't sure quite what I saw, but I thought it was probably a skunk or something like that moving off. But we decided to go out and see what it was because it was a sound I couldn't figure out exactly what had gone on. So I go out and with the flashlight, and there's turkey feathers everywhere. And there was this what looked like a massacre that happened. And as we followed the feathers, I could see that there was still a turkey out there walking around. And as Julius and I were watching, we saw a fox approach it. And we watched this fox pursue this turkey. It ended up going out onto the street near the house there. Right underneath the street light, we saw this fox take down a turkey. And we thought it was going to take it and eat it or take it back to its, it was probably July. It was around the time it happened, and maybe there was young. But the fox left the turkey and just ran off and left this dead turkey in the middle of the street.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you think he saw you or saw someone, made him feel threatened?
No, I don't.
Huh. I wonder what that behavior was about.
We were there, but it wasn't bothered by us and was still pursuing the turkey even though we were there. So speculation. We were trying to figure out, why would a fox do that? Maybe the fox was after the young of the turkey and preventing the mother turkey from coming back after the kids or something. I don't know.
That's a scratcher, right?
Yeah. But we had a huge collection of turkey feathers.
Days.
They were everywhere. I mean, just outside my house, all along the path out to the street. And yeah.
Turkey feathers for days. You could stuff a pillow.
Probably could have. I don't know if that's really what the preferred feather is for pillows, but
oh, I always use the finest turkey feathered pillows.
Turkey down.
Turkey down.
Turkey down pillow.
Yeah, I don't know. He had intentions to come back later for it, which seems not really advisable.
I don't think, out on a paved street, I wouldn't think that's where you would leave your kill to come back for later. You'd probably want to stash it.
Well, next time I see a fox, I'm going to ask.
Well, I tried asking this guy, but he wouldn't give me the time of day.
That's exciting. Watching like natural like hunting behavior. I saw that once in Griffith Park in LA. I was driving through. I just happened to see a coyote, and he was in that like that prowl, that kind of stalking position. Yeah. So I quickly saw it. I pulled over the side of the road and just watched him. And for a minute, he's like slowly doing that creeping, walking. And I saw just like in front of him, like a couple dozen yards, was like a rabbit. I got my camera out. I started recording. I'm like, oh, this is going to be exciting. And he was like very diligent, very slow, very like creeping. All of a sudden, he just hightailed it towards the rabbit. Failed. He didn't catch it, but it was still very exciting to watch, just that whole behavior, because that's not something you get to see very often.
Right. I think probably the coolest one that I saw like that was in an ornithology class. And we were out on a field trip, and the Tule Lakes area, northeast of Mount Shasta, out near lava beds. You ever been to lava beds?
I have not, but I'm familiar. I know about it. I just
love lava beds. It's a great park.
I need to get up there.
Anyways, we were out through. It's a wetland area, and you can drive through portions of the wetland. And, you get out in these different water areas. And so we're out there birding, and out in one of these, as a class, we were all together and checking out these bald eagles. Bald eagles sitting out on this rock. There was like 4 of them out in the middle of this body of water. And while we were checking them out, somebody said, "Whoa." And we all looked up, and there's a peregrine falcon in a stoop, just beelining it down, and it tagged a pheasant that had just launched into the air. And it took out a pheasant. The pheasant goes down. You see feathers flying, and the falcon flew off. And, the instructor explained, they do that sometimes.
They do that often when they hunt. Yeah, they're so fast. They swoop down like a
Yeah.
bullet, and whatever they hit is just a cloud of feathers in the air, and they
Yeah.
got lunch, and you got a show.
Right. It was a great show. It was awesome to see. I've never seen anything like that. And I knew about this, but I've never seen it in person. And of course, it provides food for other animals that don't have quite the hunting tactic that the falcon does.
It's very generous of the falcon.
Right. Like kind of a socialist behavior.
I guess very generous of the fox too, leaving the turkey for some other scavengers.
Right. Maybe that's that kind of what they're doing, is just taking care of their neighbors.
AP.
What we all should do, right?
Right. I don't think I'm going to go out after this interview and kill a bird. Wait.
Just leave it.
I don't think that's the message I should be taking from this.
No, it's not quite the same thing.
No. Okay. Fine. I won't kill anything tonight. I may need to edit this out.
That might be a good
At least that little section. I don't know. Leave it, man. I think it's good.
Right?
Guys, listen, I'm really a good person. Just take my word for it. My brother will vouch for me. Right, Bob?
No.
Oh, dang it. I've seen like red-tailed hawks like dive after squirrels and rabbits and stuff. They're fascinating hunters. They're fun to watch, but haven't seen that with the peregrine falcon though. That'd be fun to watch. So I didn't see any when I was in Africa. That would have been cool to see. I didn't see any like hunting or stalking behavior. I saw the aftermath of it. We were driving down on a game drive down one of the roads one day, and we see something like right in the middle of the road ahead of us. So we approach it and we slow down and stop and look, and it is a zebra leg. That is it. Just the leg. Everything else is gone.
Wow.
I can only assume lions, but that was crazy. We couldn't believe how, like, where's the rest of it? How did this occur?
That would be nuts.
Did they eat it all here? Did they bite off the leg and drag the rest of it somewhere else? It's a mystery, but
maybe it was like a tug of war, like a wishbone or something.
Maybe.
And one critter ended up with the smaller piece.
That could be. That's actually a good theory. Lion and a hyena fighting over the same food. They do that.
Could you tell how fresh it was? Like, is this like been there for a while, or?
I think it's pretty fresh. I think it's probably from the past, only 24 hours or so.
Yeah. I would imagine things don't really last long there.
No, I saw my first trip there to Kenya, 2010. We're on this, not really game drive. I was working with the Giraffe Conservation Foundation. We're doing a survey, so we're looking for giraffes. But we come across this deceased eland, which an eland is a rather large antelope. This one was probably about 500-600 pounds. And this one was, I don't know what killed it. It didn't look like it was killed. It looked like it died of natural causes, but it was just there, like dead, like fairly freshly dead. And, we found that interesting, but we drove by the same spot. Was it 2 days later? And it was just a skeleton. It was picked clean, and it was covered with vultures.
Okay.
Black-backed vultures, which I was really excited about because vultures were the main animals I wanted to see. I love vultures, and they're not really that common to see. So I got to see like a whole bunch of them feeding off a carcass. But I was just amazed. Like 2 days, they stripped it clean, and just how fast and efficient nature is at cleaning up after itself.
That's crazy.
It was fascinating.
Yeah. I didn't know you were into vultures. I learned something new every time.
Look at that. Now you know. I'm a vulture guy. They're one of my favorite birds.
That's cool.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Christine, on the other side, sitting quietly?
Well, I was trying to think of, and really the only kind of cool story I can come up with, like being out in nature and stuff. I remember once my family quite often would travel across country on Amtrak. And we would do like, it would be like 3 or 4 nights, and you'd go up in the observation car during the day, and you'd be out in the middle of nowhere. There's nothing for, miles and miles and miles, but these telephone poles every once in a while. And we'd be sitting up in the observation car, and I'll never forget this one time. We're all looking out, and on one of these poles, and a lot of them had, I'm not sure what kind of nests for what kind of a bird they were, but they had these big, huge nests on top of some of these poles. They had like platforms. And all of a sudden somebody yells out, "Snake." And everybody's like, "Snake? Like, how can you?" Well, there was a snake climbing up the pole to the nest on top of it, and it was a big snake. It was just a really unique experience to see, because it's not normal where I'm from. And I was probably, I don't know, 13, 14 years old, and that is just a picture that was burned into my brain of like,
I bet.
what a cool experience. And I wish I knew what kind of bird nests they were, though.
What part of the country were you in?
I was just going to text my mom and ask her where we were. And
sounds like an osprey nest.
That's what I was thinking. Like osprey is like
if there's any body of water anywhere, there's a possibility.
We're going to go with osprey. That'll be our.
Yeah. Remember right. It was, they were pretty decent size nests.
It's one of the things I loved about living out in Point Reyes was a lot of osprey. And you could go and find, there's a few different trails. One of them I really like, because when they were nesting and they had young, the trail kind of went around this ravine, and you could look down into the nest of an osprey and get close and personal with a pair of binoculars. You didn't, so you'd see the young out there, and you could watch and see mom come and feed or dad come and feed. I wasn't sure who was doing the feeding, and just being out on Tamales Bay and just seeing them hunting. And
yeah, it's always great. Yeah, whenever you're around, out in nature, be observant of the nature and the animals around you. Now, I remember Bob talking to you, I think last year, about the idea for this podcast before I started it. And you said you may have a story that might be interesting. I don't know if you remember this. Speaking of being observant of animals and nature around you, but you out in the ocean surfing and not being observant of certain animals around you. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
I think I was surfing. Is it the...
Are you talking about when we were in Kauai?
Yeah, it was when you were in Kauai.
I get to tell that story.
All right.
I get to tell that story because he was clueless.
Yes, this is it. Yes.
I was busy observing the nature in the water as I was snorkeling.
I was freaking out that my boyfriend was going to be attacked, and I was going to have to explain why I went on the trip of my lifetime and didn't get to bring him back home. But we were on Kauai, and we go out to this one beach, and we'd snorkeled the day before, and it was a little windier that day and cooler, and there was around the corner, like cordon them off when the turtles and what was it?
It was a monk seal.
Oh yeah.
And so there was a monk seal sleeping up on the beach. So they had, they come and section it off, leave it alone. So we're over here, like around the corner. There was kind of this little bay area, and we went out, we were swimming in the waves a little bit, and I wanted to go in and sit on the beach. So Bob's like, I'm going to go out and do some snorkeling. So he gets out there and he's snorkeling around, and not much longer later, I look over and this monk seal's coming across the beach, and he's heading towards the water where Bob is. And I'm like, okay, how does that work? And but he stops, plops down, like just hangs out again. Well, then he gets up. Well, there was rocks there, so he was going to have to go into the water, and the rocks came out into the water, and Bob's snorkeling right where he would go into the water. So all of a sudden this monk seal slips into the water, and another monk seal pops up from under the water, and the two of them start tossling. And I'm standing on the beach, and there's a bunch of us standing there like, holy crap. And Bob's just head under the water, snorkel up, paddling along.
I was having a good time trying to figure out why are all the fish swimming away from me?
Yeah, and so we're like, and I'm looking around. I'm like, what do we do? Like, I'm not going out there. I'm not like he can't hear me. All of a sudden, the one swims away, and the other one like pops its head up, looks over at Bob, and starts swimming towards Bob. And I am like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna sit here and literally watch my boyfriend be attacked by a monk seal. Like, should I get my phone out and start videoing, or should I try and save him?
I vote for phone,
Well, I'm
but that's just me.
thinking I could make a little money. No, that was not in my brain at all. But so I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? This monk seal swims with its head up, swimming. All of a sudden it gets to Bob and it like dives under, goes right under him and pops up on the other side.
I didn't know this at all.
Swims away. And everybody on the beach, we're all looking at each other. We're like, what the hell? Like, oh my God. And he swims a little bit more, maybe 25, 30 seconds. And all of a sudden he stands up and I'm like, Bob! I'm like yelling from the beach and he turns around and he's all, what? And I was like, there's a monk seal. And he goes, no. He's like,
Actually, I said, really?
oh, you said really? Yeah, sorry, I messed that.
Several other people on the beach were like, really?
Like, really? This is really? And then it was like, come on. And he was like, he comes up to the beach and he's like, yeah, I kind of thought it was a little weird that, like, you know, not too long before that, all of the fish swam away. We were all like, yeah, it was a good one.
It was interesting. I did have this, like, I was oblivious to that, but there was this intuitive sense, like when I've gone surfing or something, people talk about it when it feels sharky, you should get out of the water. Whether there's a shark or you just paranoid or not, you know, you just don't want to risk it. And I started to have that feeling, a little sharky, maybe I should get out of the water sort of thing.
Yeah, sometimes your body just has that like instinctive feel that sometimes, you know, I think a lot of people ignore, but you should probably listen to it. And, you know, seals, you know, they're not a shark, but you don't want to toss it with a seal. They could do some damage.
Yeah, and this was a big boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's fun to laugh at Bob, but, you know, honestly, I'd probably be just as oblivious if I was in his flippers.
Yeah, well, while I was there, I mean, I was seeing some cool fish. I was being very observant, and it was fun.
Yeah, I remember the first time I was in Kauai seeing a sea turtle on the beach resting, and but which is cool to see. But I want to see one in the water, which at that point I have not seen one. So we're watching, we're snorkeling, and Dawn and my daughter, we at one point noticed that sea turtle starts moving and he starts heading towards the water. We're like, great. So we swim out far into the water, but kind of like in a path where I think he's going to go, just so I can hopefully see him swim by. And we judged that path perfectly because he starts swimming like right towards me. And I, at one point, start like trying to like make myself like swim backwards just to get out of his way, just because every time, you know, we get near a sea turtle, my wife reminds me, like, don't touch them. It's illegal. You can't touch them. They're endangered. So I'm like, oh, swim backwards. He swam right by me. I didn't touch him, but I got really close. It was pretty cool. But yeah, he got really close. But yeah, did not touch him. Did not break the law.
Right.
It's such a cool experience seeing the sea turtles and just wildlife like that. Snorkeling's an otherworldly experience. We were talking about when I had all these animals, and when I was working with kids, when I was working doing kind of what I called freelance outdoor education. You know, a lot of what I was doing, aside from having all the animals that I had and doing hands-on experiences with kids, with animals, was also very much into educating kids just about California wildlife. So we would do things out in the wild. But one of the things that, because people knew I did this and I handled reptiles, I would get calls from parents, from teachers, different people I knew in the community who would call me. And oftentimes I'd get a call that would sound like, hey, you know, my dog, their outdoor dog run, I want to take my dog out there, but I can't because there's a rattlesnake out there right now. What should I do? Or could you come get this rattlesnake for me? It's like underneath the front porch and we can't get out of our house. So I would go and capture and relocate rattlesnakes. And then I had a parent tell me that their child really loved going out and catching snakes, and she wasn't sure because this parent was a single parent and didn't know snakes. She was afraid of snakes, but her daughter, who was probably 5 at the time, loved catching snakes and would bring them home. And it became kind of clear I had never really, I mean, aside from talking and maybe showing pictures, the kids had never seen our local rattlesnake and knew what that might look like. So I captured one of these rattlesnakes from somebody's dog run. I had it in an enclosure. And that day and that night, anytime I walked past that enclosure, that snake would rattle. And I love that sound. It does jolt you. It's kind of like that sharky feeling. You know what it is when you hear it. There's no joke. You
Yeah.
avoid that sound.
And if you haven't heard it in person, it's surprisingly loud.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't sound like what you hear on TV.
Mm-hmm.
No.
No. So, anyways, I take this snake in the enclosure into the school where I work with young children. And I had it there for about a week. You think I could get that thing to rattle for the kids? No. I would go in there with a stick and prod it, do all these things, trying to agitate it. It would not rattle. So I guess it got used to me. Had it for a week, and then I took it out and relocated it.
I mean, I noticed why so many people are afraid of them, but they prefer not to strike. They just want to be left alone. They don't want to bother you. They don't want you bothering them. I think most of the time, dogs like to get their nose right in their face, and that can be a problem. But for the most part, if you're just hiking, I've seen them hiking, and you can get pretty close, and they just kind of. I remember last time I saw one, maybe a couple years ago, but go right across the hiking trail, and he was laid out flat, just cruising. He wasn't in striking position. He could care less that we were there. He was just going from point A to point B, and they're fascinating and fun to watch. Just don't mess with them.
Right. That's exactly it.
Yep. Leave them alone.
And that's good advice for all nature. Leave it alone.
Mm-hmm.
Just try not to harm nature. Let the snakes bite you, but don't hurt them. That's
Absolutely.
That's the lesson of today's tale.
Exactly.
So this is fun, getting together and just having like little mini stories of our semi-animal adventures. We should do this more often. We don't have to record everyone.
Right? I'm happy to get together and talk about stuff because, as we talk about it, other stories kind of crop up and you're like, oh, I forgot about that.
You do. You kind of remember like, oh, yeah, this happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot. I was attacked by a bear that once. We'll talk about that next time.
I've been bit by a toucan.
Who hasn't? This at the rescue?
Mm-mm.
I could only imagine. I don't know where else you're encountering toucans.
Yeah,
you're like, I'm not eating your cereal anymore.
No. Well, but that's just it. It's so funny because I have learned that I will take a snake any day. Give me the snakes. Give me the critters. Not the birds. I like the owls. But no. No.
Oh, we went out. I took my family out the other day. I saw a posting on one of the local community social media posts. There is right down the road. There's a shopping center. There's like a Bevmo and optometrist, but right in the roof there's a great horned owl's nest.
Oh.
And it's clear as you can't miss it. We drove there. We were going there, and Chrissy was driving, and I'm giving her directions, and we pull into the parking lot, and she's like, okay, where's this nest? I point over to the left, and there's a crowd of 20 people looking up with cameras. I'm like, I think it's over there.
Maybe.
There's this bird's nest with three chicks in it.
Oh.
So, in fact, I wonder, I haven't messed with this feature before, but I might be able to show you the video of it.
Okay.
I think I can share my screen. Hold on, where is it? What date was it? I know. Oh, share. Okay, share. All right, can you see it?
Yes.
Yeah, check that out. Isn't that cool?
Oh, that's badass.
Oh my gosh.
That nest.
So cute, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a hit with the community. Here's a little, you can zoom in, you can kind of see where it is. It's optometrist
Oh,
building,
wow.
and they're just right in that little alcove there.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I didn't realize how big great horned owls really were.
Yeah, and the
So,
chicks are huge.
Mhm.
right? There was one night I was driving home. This is while I was living out in Inverness, out in Point Reyes, and I was coming home from school one night, and it's probably like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and I come around a corner, and the way my headlights hit it, I thought there was a child out in the middle of the road, a 3 or 4 year old kid
Yeah,
in the middle of the road, and as I slowed to it, I saw as I got closer, it was not a kid. It
especially
was,
the lights
it was an
reflecting off the
owl.
big eyes. Yeah,
They're pretty tall.
there they are. Oh, all right, I think we're coming towards the end. You want to say anything about the my very popular and acclaimed theme song that everyone loves?
Oh, it's a good one.
It is a good one. It's when do I start to see royalties from that? By the way,
When do I start to see any money from this? there's like there's like 500,000 podcasts and 5 people make money from it, and it's not me.
yeah. Well, we are working on new material all the time, so if you ever want to switch it up, I think it's a great theme song. We love it. Bandmates listen to it, and the song's called "Move In Day." Um, Jim, the guitar player, actually wrote the song, if I remember correctly. Called it "Moving Day" because it was the day his daughter was moving out and into an apartment where she was going to college. So it was celebratory.
It does have that peppy kind of happy feel, and that's what I like about it. Because I asked you early on, I was like, "Hey, would you mind if I use some of your music?" This is from your band. If Mars had waves.
Yeah, you have a hard time pronouncing that. Is it the whiskey or is it just your speech
Well,
impediment?
my glass is empty, so it could be a combination of both. But yeah, I went through. What do you have? 2 albums that was on Bandcamp.
Is that EPs? There's probably 8 or 9 songs on there.
Yeah, so I listened to all of them a couple times, and I kept going back to that one. Cause I'm like, this is just peppy. I like it. It's kind of like jumps right into the good vibes and the music, and I'm like, I think I want this to be the theme song, and it's kind of has been fitting ever since episode 1.
That's awesome. We are honored that you found that and you're using it. So
I'm honored that you let me, and maybe if I make a buck someday, some royalties will come your way, but don't get too excited.
if you ever want to hire a band though, and you just want music, no words, we do that.
Yeah, I've heard you sing. I just want the music.
Thanks, bro.
Nah, I love you, and I appreciate your music, and one of these days I'll make a trip out there to actually see you perform live.
Who knows? Maybe we'll make it down that way one day too, or somewhere.
That would make it so much easier for me. Can you do that?
Hire us.
Oh well.
You'd have us come do a fundraiser for the zoo or something like that.
Oh, sounds good. Not for the zoo, no. Before the podcast, buy me a new microphone for the podcast fundraiser. All right, well, dog's saying it's dinner time. It's time to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Now she's out hunting the property.
Christine, Bobcat, Brocat, thanks so much. This has been fun.
Was good talking with you.
Thank you.
All right, enjoy your night.
Bye. Have a good one.
Hey, you too. Big thanks to Bobcat and Christine for joining the podcast. It's always nice to just sit back and have a fun little chat with family and talk about stories and good times. I recommend it. You should do it, man. Call your brother, call your sister, call a parent, an uncle, a friend. Just say, hey, let's just hang out. Let's have a drink. Let's tell stories. Let's talk about the good times. You won't be disappointed. Everyone goes home happy. So that was fun. I really enjoyed it. I'm going to post the video of the owls that I saw. I know showing a video on an audio podcast isn't ideal. So if you want to see that video, I'll post it at Wild Tales Pod on Instagram. I also have Wild Tales on Facebook. You can search for that. And at Wild Tales on Blue Sky. I will post the video of the great horned owl's nest so you guys can see it. And while you're at it, just follow me on those socials And thanks for tuning in. That's all for today. Look forward to seeing you at my next episode. And until then, stay wild, my friends.